Return is an art-driven, pixel art side-scroller about exploring your home planet after 200 years. In the game, you'll fight various enemies, collect parts to repair your ship, buy items, and upgrade weapons along the way. In today's video, I'm going to share the progress I made on my game in the first year of development. August 2020. COVID is running rampant, and what better way to pass the time than to make games? I joined a local game jam called Alberta Game Jam, and 48 hours, my game Return was born. Before Return, I released a copious amount of jam games, but I really needed a new long-term project after my previous one shit the bed. Return ended up reaching 1,000 downloads after a couple weeks on itch, so I decided it deserved a full release. At this point, I had absolutely no plans, so I just decided to polish the jam version and see what happened. The player needs a new area to explore, so I added a city inspired by older architecture with decrepit old buildings and hanging bodies in the background. I added some broken power lines and old destroyed vehicles to give some depth to the space. The player is looking a little bland, so I made some new animations and gave the player a cool helmet and rifle. But now the player is dancing? Fuck it. That's a feature. Next up, I wanted the base camp to have the same parallax effect as the forest. That looks 100 times better. Okay, the player seriously needs an update. No more dancing allowed. Ah, that's so much better. Plus, I also added some new weapons for the player. An AK, a shotgun, a pistol, and a sword. Combat in the game was feeling a little static, so I also added a roll ability for the player. Every time they roll, it takes away their stamina. And that's a feature. Now the player needs a HUD, so they know what's going on in the game. This went through a lot of iterations. I wanted the player's HUD to blend in with the background and not take away from the gameplay experience, so I made it super minimal and it fades in and out when you stop fighting or stop losing stamina. Now the player needs some new enemies to fight, so I added the first boss of the game called the Gravekeeper. It resides in a graveyard, keeping watch over the graves of the many deceased from the wars. I also revamped the art for the original acid snail and added a new snail that charges at you and smashes the ground. The forest was also feeling a little empty, so I decided to add some new trees and foreground elements, these old broken fence posts, and some barbed wire and graves. Now the forest is looking great, but the level was really short, so I decided to add an underground cave system. To get to the caves, you need to find the fortification in the forest. Then I created some golems to populate the caves. I wasn't super happy with the background for the caves at first, so I gave them an overhaul. And I decided to give the forest and the base camp some new backgrounds at the same time. I think these new ones give way more depth to the game, and I like them a lot better than what they were before. Inside the cave, I added this cool computer that gives you coordinates to a secret location in the world called the Mother's Den. Now, I don't want to spoil too much, so you'll have to try the game yourself to discover that area. Once you exit the caves, you'll find yourself inside the Fortress of the Brotherhood, a faction of survivors who are obsessed with life after death. After you exit the fortress, I added this cool cutscene. But again, I don't want to spoil too much, so you'll just have to try the game yourself. Boss time. Remember the Gravekeeper? He's back and better than ever. He has 2 attacks. One attack where he smashes the ground and another where he throws a big boulder at you. Awesome. Now, the player needs a place to spend their hard-earned cash, so I decided to add a shopkeeper after the boss fight. It went through a few revisions, but I settled on this cool cyberpunk-esque structure with a mysterious merchant inspired by No Face and Spirited Away. After the forest, I needed a new biome for the player to explore, so I settled on the grasslands. They're super barren and open, which are a good contrast from the forest, which is really dense and full of trees. Now, what about the city, you might be asking? Well, I kind of forgot about it. But don't worry, it plays a crucial role in the next year development, so stay tuned for that video. That's it, 1 year of development on my game, Return. If you're interested in the game, make sure to add it to your Steam wishlist. The Steam algorithm doesn't show your game in the up-and-coming category until you have 10,000 wishlists, which really helps the game succeed on Steam. Right now, we're sitting at about 3,600, so add it to your wishlist. It really helps the game out, and we'll have an awesome launch with the more wishlists we get. What a crazy journey it's been so far. I can't believe how far this game has come, and and we've only scratched the surface. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Hit the little bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.